Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu continues to make it clear Israel will do whatever it takes to defeat its enemies. On the eve of the nation's Independence Day, he said, "We'll fight with our fingernails if we have to."
Netanyahu's pledge comes after President Biden said he would withhold critical weapons from Israel. The Jewish state insists it's ready to finish the job against Hamas by itself if necessary. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had already promised earlier this week that if Israel had to go it alone in its war against Hamas, they would go it alone. After President Joe Biden said he would withhold key weapons if Israel launched a major operation in Rafah, Netanyahu repeated his pledge on the eve of the nation's Independence Day.
In the War of Independence 76 years ago, we were few against many. We had no weapons. There was an arms embargo on Israel, but with the greatness of spirit, bravery, and unity among us, we won. If we have to stand alone, we will stand alone. I've already said that if we have to, we will fight with our fingernails. But we have much more than fingernails, and with the same greatness of spirit, with God's help, we will win together.
Despite Biden's partial weapons embargo, IDF's chief spokesman said the military has what it needs to finish the job.
The Army has munitions for the missions it has planned, and for the missions in Rafah too. We have what we need.
IDF Reserve Lieutenant Colonel Eyal Dror told CBN News Biden's move helps Hamas.
Unfortunately, the war will be longer because Hamas took courage from this decision.
Dror says the Middle East is watching.
I remind you that the Middle East is still remembering what happened with the withdrawal of the U.S. from Afghanistan. It was just 2 years ago, and the U.S., in their opinion, betrayed the allies. Now it's the same message.
Biden also facing criticism in Washington from both Democrats and Republicans, with some conservatives telling the administration it is aiding Hamas.
Hamas wins if it survives in Rafah. And Joe Biden has threatened to withhold weapons from Israel for fighting in Rafah. Therefore, Joe Biden objectively favors a Hamas victory over Israel.
Israel is also looking ahead to what could be the next war against Hezbollah, as Defense Minister Yoav Gallant reinforced to the troops Israel's goals of destroying the terrorist group, telling troops this could be a hot summer. But for now, the focus is finishing off Hamas and Rafah, as Israeli forces are taking out terrorists and keeping up their offensive in Gaza.
Well, Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what impact will Biden's decision have on Israel's military operations?
Well, they're talking about 2,500-pound bombs, and actually there are other munitions as well. They do need those weapons for the tunnels, but I talked earlier today with the former head of IDF military intelligence. He believes they have enough munitions for the Rafah operation. But the bigger question and the bigger problem for Israel, it may reduce its ability to fight up north with Hezbollah, which is a much bigger threat than Hamas. In the meantime, it's going to have a chilling impact on the IDF and its movements and its use of force. And Gordon, I think in the medium and the long term, it's going to have an impact, meaning Israel's going to be exercising more independence in the future. For some, it's a trigger to reassess what countries it works with, likely less dependence on the U.S. and weapon systems. But overall, a tremendous boost to Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, and probably less likely it's going to get those hostages out, and really dangerous to Israel's plight in the Middle East. As Eyal Dror said in our report, Israel's enemies are watching, and it's making them bolder.
Well, how's the Israeli public reacting to this? It has to be demoralizing to think that America is not going to stand with them and pull another Afghanistan. It has to affect them. Where are they right now on both reaction to Biden's decision and any decision about Israel going into Rafah?
Well, last month there was a poll, Gordon, 82% supported a military operation into Rafah. Half of those supported the operation, even if the U.S. opposes it. In terms of what Biden is saying, one Israeli leader tweeted that Hamas loves Biden. Another Israeli expert I talked to yesterday said it was both sad and scary. Some are asking whether or not this is a turning point and a breaking point in the U.S.-Israeli relations. The New York Post had a headline in the New York Post saying betrayal, and that's really, Gordon, how many Israelis feel. And, it's a somber time of year for Israelis. Just a few days ago, they commemorated Holocaust Remembrance Day. On Monday, they're going to be commemorating Memorial Day, remembering all those who fell in battle since the founding of the state. And then the next day is going to be Independence Day. It's really Israel's July 4th. So it's really a poignant time for Israelis when their number one ally since its founding in 1948, in the minds and hearts of many over here, it's turning their back. I'll add this. North Dakota Governor Doug Bergman put it this way, saying we're in completely new territory for a president of the United States, which has a rule not to negotiate with terrorists. But for Joe Biden, he's actually gone beyond that. And he's saying he's actually negotiating for terrorists.
Well, the Israeli defense minister is talking about a potential war against Hezbollah this summer. When I was there in Jerusalem back in March, the Christian community seemed to think that it was inevitable. What are you hearing today in light of Biden's decision?
We were talking to a number of people about what's going on in the north. We talked to one person who's actually been out of there for about 7 months. As Gallant said, it's going to be a long, hot summer. Ever since October 8th, the day after October 7th, it's been a war of attrition. There's been 1,700 missiles, drones, anti-tank missiles from Lebanon into Israel. 60,000 civilians are officially evacuated from the border. Maybe it's closer to 100,000. 43 communities are deserted. So when they go back remains to be seen, but they basically have a security zone inside Israel that's vacant of most Israelis. So it does look like a war is inevitable. And many people are saying Hezbollah is really going to be emboldened by what Biden decided just a few days ago.
Well, Chris, thanks for the insight and thanks for being with us. And for you at home, this is not a time for us to get wobbly. It's a time for us to stand with Israel. You can make your voice heard. Within the Democrat Party, there is division over this decision by President Biden, and some members of his own party are saying it's a mistake to send this kind of message to Hamas, that all you have to do is wait in your tunnel and America will come to your rescue. That shouldn't be. We should always stand against terrorism and stand with Israel in this struggle.